All right, Tommy, you describe yourself as an engineer turned artist. You were originally a minister and then turned mystic. You're now dedicated to self-exploration through intentional embodiment. And you let me know that your hope is to encourage the world to heal and shift into a more sustainable and natural way of living and loving so we can fully embody our own beautiful and powerful existence. How does it feel to hear that, Red?
It feels life-changing, honestly. It's one thing to write that. It's another thing to hear it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know you and I have talked a lot about your unique journey through sciences and art. I really want to zoom in as you share some of your story about that contrast from engineer to artist, minister to mystic. What was one key moment where you remember feeling like you couldn't hold on to those former identities?
I was 29. I've always been the curious one to ask why for things.
Mm-hmm.
But when I started getting into my late 20s, I guess I would consider myself a bit of a late bloomer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a firstborn thing, I guess.
How so, when you say that?
Well, firstborn children are the ones who are indoctrinated first. Like they're the guinea pigs.
Mm-hmm.
All of the things that the parents don't realize that they're doing, the child is subjected to. And it's a little bit harder because there's nobody to relate to until somebody has like siblings or even cousins. But siblings are a little bit different because they're in the same environment that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn to follow the rules really, really quick, or you suffer the consequences. And I lived in a pretty disciplined home. I would not say that it was abusive at all, but there was a lot of cause and effect. I was disciplined as a child.
Yeah.
And I would ask why, but it was never really met with an answer that I liked. Like I felt like I was living two lives. And the point that I was talking about earlier when I was 29, there were a lot of things that I wanted to do that I was not, quote, allowed to do. It was
like what?
like growing up, we couldn't go to dances. We couldn't listen to certain types of music. We couldn't dress like everybody else was dressing. There were all of these things that we weren't allowed to do because other people were afraid of how it looked. Other people were afraid of what it meant spiritually, like spiritually healthy, spiritually unhealthy, that kind of thing. And when I was 29, I wanted to be able to do what I had the desire to do without suffering any community repercussions for it. But there were certain things that would be a surefire way to cut myself off from a lifeline of like community.
Yeah.
So it kind of put the cult in culture. And like this particular instance, there were things that I was experimenting with when I was 29. I had just started experimenting with cannabis. Growing up in California, everything was very accessible.
Yeah.
At the time, it wasn't quite legalized, but I was the one to get my medicinal card. So I had access to it. And it started making me question the reason for doing things. It started making me ask why the world was the way that it was. Really, it didn't give me answers. I wasn't doing it because I wanted answers. I wanted to explore.
Right.
And it gave me the spur.
Yeah. So give me a little more context on, it sounds like your identity shifting from engineer to artist was one of those initial opportunities to explore going from a more defined black and white series of thought into
something more colorful.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would say that.
And it sounds like throughout college and then even after, what you're talking about in terms of family culture or religious influence, that was an even deeper series of thoughts that took a certain experience in order to feel like it was the right time to shift, to explore something different. And what I'm really hoping to get at is the way that you look at the world now in terms of working with people and being a manager, whether or not you have a manager title. What do you think in that time of transformation really helped you become the type of leader that you are?
I would really think that it has a lot to do with having the courage to do something different. Because we're all handed things. Some things are useful, some things are not, and we're the ones who get to figure out how to use them in our lives. And I realized that I didn't want the kind of life that the people who were handing me these things had. I did not want the kind of relationships that they had. I didn't want the kind of health that they had. I wanted something better. And people might call it really idealistic to think that way, but I think ideals are something that we all should aspire to. And I decided that the fear of staying the same was greater than the fear of trying something new. And I had a moment when I was sitting on the platform at church, and I recognized just how much my ideology had shifted away from following rules and doing what I was supposed to do just because I was told, to wanting to disrupt that. I wanted to disrupt it, not because I wanted to destroy something. I wanted to change things from what they were into something better. And it's a kind of surgery. Surgery is painful, but hopefully it brings about a correction of something that otherwise would be incorrect, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm really interested in understanding how you've taken that initial interest in electrical engineering through your journey. Now, you recently told me about a Bernoulli Pyramid that you've been studying, learning how to manufacture for yourself. And I'd really love for you to dive into that, because I think that the audience is still learning how engineering principles apply to this energy work, this world of mysticism.
Yes.
And I feel that you're the expert.
Ooh, expert is that's a big word for Elmo.
Yes.
Well, I think the thing about anything that I get involved with, it has to start with a sort of curiosity as to why things work the way that you do. I got into the College of Engineering at Cal State Long Beach in California because I really liked math. I really liked understanding. I would really liked understanding math and science that could be applied.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fun for me to figure out physical science.
Yeah.
I enjoyed chemistry, and I think that chemistry is a very niche form of physical science. It still has to do with elements. It still has to do with what we are given in the physical world, but it is more like how they react to each other on a chemical level, microscopic level, you could say.
Yeah.
And physical science of like, how fast is this ball going if you throw it at this velocity and it's at this angle? Like, there are equations for applied math in physics that fascinated me just because I wanted to know how the world worked.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing that I did was learn all of the rules.
Yeah. Yeah, the world is composed of energy in
Yes.
different forms.
Yes.
I believe a lot of engineers would initially agree with that.
Potential energy, kinetic energy. Even Einstein knew that photons were energy. Light has energy. Waves have energy.
Right.
Everything is energy. Every physical thing, even though it looks like it's standing still, any scientist could tell you that it's just vibrating at a particular frequency that the human eye cannot pick up.
Yes. Yes. Sound as well.
Yes.
Sound has energy. By the same principle, our words carry energy. The way that we interact, the way that we show up. And so I would love for you to tell us a little bit about this Bernoulli Pyramid, your construction plans.
The construction plans. Well, I actually created this will be the second time that I am making a Bernoulli Pyramid. There is a YouTube channel called The Old Lab Rat on YouTube, and it's just this guy who is experimenting with, I guess you could call it weird science, dowsing rods, pendulums, but they all revolve around scientific concepts of like anions and cations, and he likes to tie it to the research of a particular scientist called Wilhelm Reich, who was famous for coining the term orgon. It's actually where we get orgonite from, where there's all of this polyester resin compressing all of these crystals, and it creates a physical response. And what's interesting is for people who doubt that is actually possible, every radio that we have that's analog has a quartz crystal in it. So it's crystals have a lot of energy. Crystals have a lot of power. And where I come in with this Bernoulli Pyramid idea, if you experiment with certain geometric shapes in the physical world, strange things happen. And what really drew my attention to it was the shape of the pyramid. And I decided to conduct an experiment where I took an equilateral pyramid that was about 15 inches high at the highest point and split it into 4 equal parts and then separate them. And
is this pyramid made of resin and crystals?
no, this pyramid is just made of concrete.
Got
it's
it.
just limestone and Portland cement.
Got it.
So I can run down to Home Depot and make casts of these pyramid parts, and when you put all 4 of them together, they create an actual equilateral pyramid. But when you open the pyramid and spread them apart, there is there's kind of a physical change that happens. There is an influx of energy that comes from the bottom, the base of the pyramid, and starts going out of the top of the pyramid when it's open, much in the same way that the Bernoulli principle with a spray bottle works.
Yeah.
Where
Fluid dynamics.
Fluid dynamics, yes. But instead of actual fluid, it is an unseen but very clearly felt energy in the physical world. Like your body can pick up on it.
Yeah. And carried through the air.
Yes.
That we're breathing. So I love relating back also when you introduce the idea of crystals to someone that is very tech oriented. a lot of electrical engineers now would agree that crystals have significant power to influence electricity because they're used in circuit boards.
Yes.
And if now when I have a conversation with someone that isn't quite sure why you would wear a crystal on your chest, I go back to the same fundamentals that they've already been taught or experienced. So what's your hope with that pyramid? What do you want to be able to share with people in your effort to heal and educate the world about this type of science?
Well, I feel like it would be similar to having a fan in your room when it's hot. Like the whole point of it is just to move air so that you feel less hot. And with this particular contraption, technology, I'll call it, like people think that there has to be electricity for something to be considered technology, but really technology is just a tool that you use to do something with it. With this particular technology, I guess what I want to do is move stagnant energy. And there are particular points in people's lives where they just feel kind of stuck. And moving the Earth's energy around, it feels similar to going out and touching grass. And we're so inundated with our phones and smartwatches and our computers. We're very digitally reliant. And what we really need is to reconnect to the source of energy in the physical world. Everything comes from the earth. Arguably everything comes from the sun, but the earth is the thing that shows so much growth.
Yeah.
And there are seasons, times of the year where things grow, times of the year where things go dormant and die, and then the whole thing starts over again. And if we are going to sustain any kind of existence, we have to again reconnect with the cycles of the natural world. That's something that we have been very separated from, and it feels nefariously intentional at this point, and I think other people would agree. I think that going out and touching grass or sitting on the earth, that is going to be a key factor in people becoming healthier spiritually.
Yeah, definitely. Even the simple practice of getting sun on our face is a lot of times indoctrinated by the leaders at a company. If they're showing an example of working from sun up to sundown and they're not giving themselves that opportunity to ground in their thoughts and their management style, it radiates throughout the company. So I would love to see this Bernoulli Pyramid in manufacturing facilities.
Well, I would love to show you.
Like a break room opportunity just to help people reset and think clearly, because so much of my work is in helping people think clearly because they didn't realize that they made a decision without considering the consequences due to stress or other pressures.
Yeah,
time,
environmental too.
Deadlines. Yes, definitely. I know that we've spoken a lot about neurodivergence. Could you remind me your perspective on neurodivergence, how it shows up in the workplace?
I recognize neurodivergence as it's an apparency that particular people have to just be able to think outside of the box. It's a branching out to me is what it feels like. And it almost feels like the nature, like the natural force that's present within us as a species, it feels like the human race fighting against whatever we're being forced into. And I'm speaking about environments. Like we're not made to work in corporate offices. We're not made to. We can. There are a lot of things that we're capable of doing, but it is not conducive at all to our mental health. It's not conducive to our physical, spiritual health. And I think that neurodivergence is the desperation for mankind to get back to the way that things are supposed to be. Because we'll look at somebody who is autistic and has difficulty with sensory stuff as somebody who just doesn't fit in to a box that was made for us but is not a natural environment for us to be in. So the only thing to do with people like that is to put them in the natural world and see what happens. And if you look at any neurodivergent person, whether they have ADHD or autism or you name it, if you take them out of society and put them in the woods for a little while, they end up feeling better. Their circadian rhythms are leveled out. They can do things that are closer to the survival of our species than what corporate America or the corporate world would have us think that our purpose is.
So what might you suggest for people currently in this high stress state at a corporate office without necessarily considering the obvious, which might be changing careers? But
that is the most obvious.
Let's talk about the people that really enjoy the mission that they're working towards and want to continue with the team that they have, just aren't sure how to support their own well-being. What would be some suggestions for them to better connect with the natural world?
I think that this goes back to something that I'm a really big proponent of, and that's self-discovery. It involves figuring yourself out. It involves knowing your boundaries and what you're willing to do and what you're willing not to do.
Yeah.
I commend a lot of things going on in the corporate world revolving around like women's rights and equality and things like that, because there was a time where people were just they were basically commanded to just tolerate specific environments just to get the job done. And I think that people who are struggling with fitting in, they need to figure out what the rules are so that they can break them later. Because there will be a time and a place for it. I think that the world as it is right now has something to teach us, even if it's teaching us what we don't want.
I love that. And I want to hear, with your diverse work experience, if you can tell me about a situation, especially with, I know that recently you've had food and beverage industry experience operations in that space. What is a time when you feel that your way of seeing something changed the outcome for the team, something that they were missing and that you were able to identify?
Okay. Well, I have been, my first job experience was mostly in retail. It's very difficult to change the course of a ship if it's really, really big. It's a lot easier to affect positive change in businesses that are smaller per se, especially if they're mom and pop or just small businesses just starting out. And coming to Milwaukee, just starting out in the food and beverage industry, it was like watching a sweater unravel because Milwaukee in particular is full of smaller businesses. And I have found myself more involved with the startup businesses while I've been here. And they're excited to have me. And they give me a job to do. And what ends up happening is I do the job and I do it really efficiently.
Like what?
Well, they tell me to, if let's just give an example. If I'm working at a bar and I'm told to be a manager, a lot of the times the businesses will give you the title, but they won't give you the responsibility. They will call you a manager, but they won't let you manage. They won't let you do the thing that they hired you to do, which is deal with the people, order product, handle customer service. Your job is to basically train.
Yeah. Well, I want to challenge you on this. So let's talk about how or why you think that happens in the workplace.
Because I think people don't actually know what they want. And they use verbiage because it sounds good, but they end up getting the thing that they asked for and they're unhappy with it. For example, I have to correct a bad habit that will make workflow less efficient. And then the ideas that I give to make things better, the business takes them and then they fire me because they come up with some kind of, I'm not a voice of peace and reason. I'm a disruptive voice because the way that they want things to go conflicts with the way that they're asking things to be. They want an efficient business, so you have to come in and retrain things, and you end up retraining things that they've always done, and they don't like that.
So what do you wish that technical leaders, people in operations understood about team members who see the world differently than a standard framework lays out for them?
It takes a great amount of courage to do something different, like I said earlier. And I think that, and this is what I advocate because this is what I have found works well for me. I think that people need to be open to the idea that they just might be wrong about things. And even if it isn't a blatant wrong, a flat out wrong, they need to at least be open to the thought of their perspective not being complete. And the perfect way to show that to people is by telling them and actually showing them that their perspective matters for something. Just because you have a position that is, quote, over somebody else does not mean that you know more than they do when they could know something that you don't. And a surefire way of never growing is just always doing what you're told to do.
So would you say, from what I'm hearing right now, that a method for challenging the status quo is asking questions?
Yeah, It is asking questions, but you need to be prepared for that to lead to a few problems too. When I was studying physical science, we studied something that was not really physical, but has a physical manifestation. We studied light. Light is something that, even though you can feel the energy from it, if you're in the sunlight, it makes you sweat, it's hot. The energy from the sunlight, if you have enough melanin, you can tan. Light is a strange thing because we have equations for light for it to behave like a particle, even though it's not really tangible. We have equations for light that work for wavelength, even though we can't really see the waves in light. Einstein came along and came up with quantum theory, and now we have equations for photons, which is more like bursts of energy. And in order to understand the fullness of light as we know it up to this point, you need all three.
Wonderful. Tommy, and if people want to connect further with you, learn more about your philosophy, your healing practice, how can they do that?
I'm on Instagram. My handle is @wizardbody. It's wizard spelled the old English way. It's WYSARD. And it's wizard_body. And I also have a YouTube channel with the same name.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Tommy, for sharing your perspective, knowing that this is challenging to talk about because we're also breaking mental models that have lasted longer than our lives.
And thank you for having me. I think that this is the kind of thing that will start that. Like the saying is, the revolution will not be televised, but it's right here. So
yes.
we have to start talking to each other again. We have to start sharing our perspectives, because we have something worth exploring. We have something worth holding on to.
Yeah.
We come from a species that love to surround the fire and just tell stories orally and keep oral traditions alive. So the more we have open communication, I think the better everyone is going to be.
Wonderful. There you have it, folks. This was the Empathic Engineering Podcast.